All right, welcome, Dr. Taylor. Thank you so much for being on our Spotlight series here for the Best in Utah Pelvic Health Edition. I'm so excited to have you on here.
Excited to be here. This is
Yeah.
awesome. Thanks for
Yes,
having me.
yes, absolutely. So what I'm going to do here is I'm just going to read your bio for our audience here so they can get to know you, who you are, and then we'll jump into a bunch of questions that I have for you.
Cool. Sounds great.
Okay. Dr. Taylor and his wife, Mackenzie, have been married for 12 years, and just last week they welcomed their baby number five into their family. As much as he's passionate about chiropractic care, his greatest role is being a dad and husband. He understands firsthand the joys and challenges of raising a family, which is why he's so committed to helping parents and children thrive. Dr. Taylor's journey into chiropractic wasn't a straight path. After exploring several career options, he discovered his passion for helping families experience true health. That passion led him to Dallas, Texas, where he earned his doctorate of chiropractic from Parker University along with two bachelor's degrees. He went beyond the standard curriculum, dedicating himself to studying under some of the most successful neurologically based chiropractors in the country. With advanced training and certification in the Webster technique through the ICPA certificate. Amazing. So glad you're here. Kate, walk us through
Thanks.
that journey of like, how did you become a chiropractor? What were the pivots and turns?
Totally. Yeah. So I think like a lot of people that go to college initially in their, early teens, early 20s, it's like, what the heck am I doing with my life? And that's how it was. Yeah, for sure. I took a lot of time. I thought, maybe I wanted to be a psychologist, and then I was like, no, that's not for me. And then I thought maybe I should be an electrician. I was an electrician for about a year and a half, and then I transitioned out of the construction zone because that's a zone that's for some people. It's definitely not for me. Uh, and eventually found my way back into undergrad to get into chiropractic college. And initially, I just went to the chiropractor for myself, and that's kind of what kind of made me start thinking about that whole pathway. But the way that we specifically practice kind of transitioned and changed a little bit as I went through school and everything. So when for most people, when they go to the chiropractor, they go because it's like, oh, my back hurts or I've got headaches, right? And that was me. I was like the quintessential chiropractic patient. Like, oh, you've got back pain, go to the chiropractor. And I had been dealing with it for a significant amount of time. Actually, my wife uh, finally told me we were at a on a trip to Disneyland, and I was taking about 800 milligrams of ibuprofen 3 to 5 times a day. And I mean, you surely know, like, that's bad.
Not
So
good.
it's like, not only was I dealing with back pain that wasn't really being solved, but like my digestive system was all sorts of crazy, right? And so we were actually at Disneyland and we called the chiropractor that she went to growing up and scheduled an appointment and went to the chiropractor, and that ultimately changed the career path that I went on. And then kind of flashing forward to being in chiropractic college, in my first semester of chiropractic college, my wife, she was actually pregnant with baby number two. And with that, when you go to chiropractic college, and probably I assume with what you do too, it's like you get to go to the student clinic, right, and be a patient there. And she had the most consistent chiropractic care that she'd ever had. And that pregnancy compared to baby number one and baby number two, it was like a night and day difference. Like it was amazing. And so much so that baby number two was actually born at home on accident. And so it's like it just was so smooth. And I would actually take that birth over the first birth any day, which is kind of crazy. I don't know if she'd say the same thing, but for me, it's way less stressful. Um, but that ultimately kind of changed how we practice in our office too for me, because I realized if that's what it can do for my wife, what can it do for so many other people's kids and families?
Totally, totally. I love that story. Okay, what do you feel like makes you different in the way you practice and the way your clinic runs or anything like that that is compared to any other chiropractor, right?
Yeah, totally. So we're a family chiropractic office, and I know that, and we specifically see like pregnant moms and kids, like we see a lot of that in our office. And so that's not necessarily unique. That's kind of becoming a little bit more popular, I think, just because it's fun to work with people that are in the early stages of life or in the developing stages of life. kids, truthfully, like they complain a whole lot less than an adult does, right? They just have parents bring their kids and they say like, "Hey, this is what my kiddo's struggling with. They're struggling with bedwetting, or they're struggling uh, with ADHD or something like that." And so we just get to work with the kids, and it's fun to play with them. Um, but but not only that, but when you change the life of the kid, you're not just changing the life of the kid, but you're changing the life of mom too, because mom gets to see their kid shift from this somewhat stressed and not at ease state and starts to be able to function and do the things that they're supposed to do, right? Like, um, and so, and then that also, I feel like mom really struggles with kids struggling, and dad kind of struggles, but what dad really struggles with is seeing mom struggle. And so when dad sees mom starting to be happy and understand, hey, my kid's doing better, then they start to be happy too. And so it kind of just changes the whole family. And
Totally.
that's what we like to do, is not just see mom or kids happy, but see the entire family start to thrive together.
I'm glad
Um,
we share that clinical ethos.
yeah,
For sure.
it's so cool. Yeah.
Yeah.
The I was gonna say, the is it can I say one more thing about
Oh
that?
yeah,
Because
this is
it's
your
a huge
show.
question. The other thing that I think makes us a little bit different is we've actually had, because we serve so many pregnant moms, it's really important for us to be able to relate to those pregnant moms too. Obviously, I'm not a pregnant mom, but I have we've had 5 kids, and each pregnancy has been so different. Our first one, like I said, mentioned, was a hospital birth, which was great in what it needed to be. Our second one was an at-home birth on accident, which again was fantastic. The third one, we were like, hey, that was pretty good the first time, so let's do this on purpose this time. Um, and that was wonderful. And then number 4 was actually a C-section, because my wife had placenta previa, and it kind of got to the point where it's like, hey, like
Mhm.
it's almost a life or death thing. Like you choose to get baby out now, and both of you will be okay, or you run risks. And then the most recent one was actually a at-home birth VBAC. And so
Wow. So many
yeah,
experiences.
yeah.
Incredible.
And so it's cool because we can have people come into our practice, and no matter like what they've experienced, we can help, really relate to what they're dealing with and help them really understand, hey, these are the steps and paths, that like the things that we need to do to help you see success in all those different areas, and just support them through whatever their process looks like. And that's what we love to do.
Yeah. Not that I would wish that upon anyone, but that is such a unique experience that you can totally, on all those levels you said, like relate in so many different ways. And you've been through all the experiences of that too.
Yeah,
Well,
yeah.
thank you
It
for
makes
sharing.
it really helpful too. And like we had a mom come in just last week before we had our baby, and baby is breech. She's 30, I think she was 35 weeks when she came in. And crazy enough, my wife, 2 weeks before baby was born, baby was in a breech position. And it's always interesting to put yourself in that situation, because I know that the babies split. They always do, right? But when it's yourself, you kind of freak out a little bit. You're like, oh my
Totally.
gosh, what's going on? Right. And and sure enough, we just did exactly what I told this other mom to do. I said, hey, let's get you adjusted. Let's make sure that things are consistent. And our baby flipped, and hers is gonna flip too. So
Yeah, awesome. Okay. Who would you say, obviously your family practice as an ideal fit? Is it just any family? Is it do you favor the like you said, the new families that are starting their journey and like then continue on? Walk us through that. Who's your ideal person?
yeah, that's a good question. I mean, we do try and meet moms and families wherever they're at, right? Because I'd like to say that every family is going to be just like my family, and like we'll just be like the best of buds, but that's just not how it works. Um, but I'd say the ideal family is people that are looking for something a little bit different. They're not necessarily wanting to go the traditional approach, or they have some, I guess, like crunchy ideas about what health should look like. Those people are a little bit easier to work with, because it's not as much convincing to help them understand what we're doing. However, I will say that if a family comes in and they're brand new, they have no idea what they're doing, that's okay too, because our goal is to help support them along the entire process. I mentioned before we started recording that my wife recently started doing a mom's group that she does monthly, where she just talks about like at-home remedies for sick kids or pelvic floor health, right? And those sorts of things so that people have resources and can learn things about health.
Yeah. Quote from there is like meet them where they're at. I think that's perfect, absolutely perfect. I couldn't
Totally.
agree more.
Yeah.
Kate, walk us through what the process to work with you is like. Do we just call online? Do we show up at your office? Like, what is the initial like? How do we get to you? How do we come in
Yeah.
the door?
That's a good question. If it's not somebody that's referring you into the office, a lot of times how people find us is through either our social media or they just like we're in a pretty good location in Orem. We're right next to Winco, and people just Google like chiropractor near me, and since it's like right off the freeway, it's right there. People will find us, and from there, just contacting us through our website is what we recommend because people comment or send a form in and say, hey, this is what I've got going on. And then my team will actually call you and say, hey, we saw that you submitted a form and you wanted to schedule a visit. And they'll actually kind of talk through everything that they're dealing with. They'll talk and get details before we even have them come into the office because we do want to make sure that this is the right place for them, but also we want to make sure that anyone that comes to our office actually knows that we care about their health and it's not just like a I'm a lead form that you send in or anything like
Right.
that. Like they're actual people. So
And then talk us through like the evaluation. Like, do you come in for how long is that? What does it include? X-rays, not X-rays, testing? Like, what does that process look like?
yeah, so there's a couple different ways depending on the situation. If it's a mom that has a kid that's struggling with something like a neurodivergent issue or uh, I don't know why these two like bedwetting or maybe they have like upset stomach. That if it's a kid, really, what I actually like to do is I like to do a phone consultation before they even come into that the first visit because like if you're a mom that has a kid that's struggling with those things, generally speaking, that kid's struggling and it's hard to be a mom and take the kid out of the house. And so I'll do a phone consultation first and just kind of gather all the information that I need to help make sure that we get them a good plan of action set together. And then they come in for an appointment where we do 3 neurologic scans and tests. And that visit typically takes about 20-ish minutes, maybe 30 if like kids having a day, which is totally okay. If it's not noisy here, then we're doing something wrong.
Mhm.
Um, and then after that, we get those scans and that information. Once we've collected all that information, then they'll come back for another visit where we kind of review all that with them and say, hey, here's the plans and steps moving forward. If it's an adult, that's more of like a stereotypical chiropractic sort of scenario. Sometimes we might do the phone consultation again, like if they've got a bunch of kids and it's just hard to get out of the house. Or we'll have them come in and we'll do a consultation there and then do those scans. And sometimes we take x-rays depending on the scenario. Sometimes we don't, but it just depends on the person. So
Yeah. Awesome. Awesome. Kate, what is one thing that that people don't know that you think that they should know about chiropractic or your services or your clinic or you?
yeah, that's a good question. So there's a few things I think. Like I had mentioned, we do work with the whole family with that special focus and working with pregnant moms and kids. And we have had all those different experiences, so we do try and relate to people as much as we can. Um, the other thing is a lot of people when they come through our doors they might have questions about things that maybe they didn't even realize they had questions about, and then they come in, they're like, "Oh, what about that?" And so we try to be as big of a resource as we possibly can for people. The pregnant mom that I mentioned that her baby was breech, when we had that initial phone call with her, and she was pretty upset. It's baby number 3. She doesn't want to have a breech baby. We actually heard her and put together a form of just like all these different strategies that she can do to support her pregnancy from this stage moving forward so that baby can get in the right position and stay in the right position. And so we try and be as in like give as much resources as we possibly can for people when they come in, even if that means, hey, we talked to you today, let's get you something as soon as possible. So uh, the other thing is chiropractic. It does help with a lot of things, a lot more than just the big three: neck pain, back pain, and headaches. And so just know like if you're struggling with something, likely it's not because that's just the way that it is, but there's probably some sort of disconnect between the information that's being transferred from your brain to your body. And so just figuring out what that disconnect is and reconnecting it can make a big difference.
Totally. Totally. Okay. Is there anything special that you want to promote to the audience listening here?
That's a good question. So we do those monthly classes, and sometimes it depends. Sometimes those are by invite only. Sometimes those are kind of open to everybody. So be on the lookout for those. The other thing is right now during the month of March, we're doing a new patient special. We're calling our March Madness special, where if you decide to come in for first visit, it's a 50% off the first visit and then $100 off of a care plan. And so that's something that we're doing right now. If anyone wants to schedule a visit, let us know for sure.
Cool. Also, awesome, awesome, awesome. Okay. My last and favorite question to ask every person is what do you want to be known for?
Cool. Yeah, that's a good question. And that's personally or
You could answer both.
but
Both fine.
both. Okay. I'll do
Yeah.
both.
Yeah.
I think personally is uh just being super dad forever. Just being able to do the things that I love to do personally and with my family for as long as I possibly can. And then also helping them do the things that they want to do forever too. That's probably my personal why for waking up, exercising, doing the things that we do, serving people here.
Yeah.
And then as far as our business goes, we just want to make sure that we're building a community for people where they can learn and grow and feel comfortable and happy and feel like they're at home. Like I said, if it's not noisy here, like if we don't have kids running loops around the office, then what the heck are we doing? I feel like we're doing something wrong. And so people should feel comfortable and feel like they're at home here and also feel like they're getting answers too.
Yeah. Awesome. Awesome. Okay. Where can we find you, Dr. Taylor? Like website name, location,
Yes. Yeah.
Instagram?
So our website is renegadechiroutah.com, and that's Utah spelled out. Probably the best place to find information and just more about what we do is our Instagram. It's at renegade underscore chiropractic uh, is our at. And then we've been posting just kind of educational videos on YouTube.
Great.
And I can't remember what that is, but there's a link to that on our Instagram too.
Perfect.
So
Perfect.
yeah,
Awesome. Well, thank you so much for being on our Spotlight series. Thanks for what you're doing in the community and collaboration with patients, and you're amazing. So thank you so much for spending some time with me today.
totally. Yeah. And thanks for doing all the things that you do. We hear so many great things about what you guys do as well. You're awesome.
Thank you.